What if one moment could unravel everything you think you know about good and evil? I'm Sarah Thompson, and on October 15th, 2023, my journey took a life-altering turn into the unknown. Join me as I reveal unsettling truths about the Antichrist Manipulations that could change your perspective forever. Dare to unlock these secrets with me? Before that day, I was lost, grappling with doubts about my faith, seeking deeper meaning in a world that felt increasingly chaotic. The constant search left me spiritually raw. I felt worn down by daily life, questioning everything I'd ever held close. With each passing day, I struggled to find clarity, feeling like I was wandering through a fog with no real direction. But nothing could prepare me for what awaited on that unavoidable collision course. The morning routine was typical until I made that left turn. Suddenly, everything shifted. An overwhelming sense of dread washed over me like a cold wave, and I can still hear the screeching tires echoing in my mind. It was 11:23 in the morning. I remember glancing at the clock in disbelief as I approached that intersection, my heartbeat quickening with each passing second. The mundane world around me felt oddly distorted, almost surreal, as if I were walking through a dream. Then it happened, a violent impact. Glass shattered, metal crunched, and I felt a painful jolt that seemed to launch my spirit momentarily from my body, hovering above the chaos. The sights and sounds became a cacophony of distortion, blending together in a horrifying symphony. I could hardly process what was happening except for this one fleeting thought that echoed in the storm of my mind. I just wanted to get home. It was so simple, yet it felt like a world away as darkness rapidly enveloped me. That single moment, the instant of that crash, was where my reality crumbled completely. I didn't know then that I was about to cross a threshold into a different realm, a place that would challenge everything I thought I knew about life, death, and the forces that govern us. It was terrifying and yet strangely liberating, as if the universe had orchestrated this entire event to pull me from one life into another. I could feel the pressure of existence fading, little by little, as I slipped away from the wreckage. When I found myself in that surreal state, I felt oddly detached, as though I was floating. Looking down, I saw my lifeless body surrounded by paramedics who were desperately trying to revive me. It was like watching a scene from a movie, a scene where the protagonist is trapped in a world they no longer inhabit. I could see the frantic movements of the paramedics, their faces stricken with concern, but I felt no connection to that chaos. It was as if I were witnessing a puzzle from the outside, pieces shifting in a frantic dance below me. In that moment, time seemed to stretch indefinitely. I had no pain, no fear, only an overwhelming sense of peace. The contrast was stark against the chaos surrounding my physical form. It was a tranquility that felt profoundly foreign, yet wonderfully familiar. Like a warm embrace after a long journey, there was a lightness, an undeniable freedom that enveloped me completely, something I had unknowingly craved in life but never truly attained. As I floated there, confusion gradually faded, replaced by an insatiable curiosity. Where was I? What was happening? The questions flowed like water rushing through my mind, but my soul was calm, undisturbed by the urgency of those thoughts. I tried to comprehend the implications of what I was experiencing, yet it was hard to grasp. The questions swirled around me like the remnants of a dream, elusive and intangible. Just as I began to synthesize what was occurring, a warm light gradually enveloped me. It beckoned me closer, shimmering with an inviting glow. I felt drawn toward it, knowing instinctively that this was only the beginning of something extraordinary. It was as if the universe itself had conspired to pull me away from the turmoil of my existence, leading me into a realm where understanding awaited. Not just for me, but perhaps for all the questions I had yet to ask. A figure stepped forth from the brilliant light, a guide whose presence radiated warmth and love. It was as if I was being embraced by the very essence of compassion. I could hardly believe the sight before me. The figure's form shimmered slightly, casting a soft glow that illuminated the space around us. I felt an overwhelming sense of safety and acceptance wash over me. This was not the terrifying unknown I had anticipated. This was a sanctuary. The guide, ethereal yet strangely familiar, spoke with a voice that vibrated through my being, saying, "You've come far to learn what is needed. There is much to reveal." The cadence of their voice felt like a melody that resonated deep within my soul, awakening something I hadn't realized was dormant. I wanted to lean into that sound and let it carry me away forever. For the first time since that chaotic crash, the fatigue of doubt lifted, replaced by a growing sense of clarity. I was here for a purpose, and the importance of this moment was dawning upon me like the first light of dawn breaking through the night. It was hard to express just how liberating it felt to know there was a reason behind my suffering, as if all the struggles I had faced hadn't been in vain. But then the atmosphere shifted. I could sense a change, the rhythmic pulse of the space growing heavier. The guide's expression became serious, their radiance dimming just slightly. "You must understand the darkness that lies ahead." My heart raced as I braced for the unsettling truth. The warmth and safety I had felt moments before receded to the background, replaced by a knot of unease tightening in my stomach. I had come seeking answers, but now I worried about what those answers might reveal. Just as I was beginning to feel a sense of hope, I was faced with the idea that the truths I was about to learn could hold grave implications. As the guide spoke, I felt the warmth surrounding me soften, the light dimming gradually, until it felt as if a curtain were being drawn across an otherworldly stage. Then, from the depths of that diminishing radiance, a shadow began to emerge. It cracked before me, manifesting into a presence both terrifying and compelling, one that evoked a primal fear I couldn't wholly understand. I found myself captivated, rooted to the spot, as I faced what I instinctively knew to be a darkness beyond my comprehension. The entity's appearance was unsettling, cloaked in a shroud of shifting shadows. It was hard to pin down its form, almost like trying to grasp smoke with my bare hands. Yet I sensed that it was not merely a figment of my imagination. I understood it to be the Antichrist, though now I recognized it as something greater, an orchestrator of chaos. Its being was a master of deception, manipulating from behind a veil of illusion, crafting narratives that ensnared the hearts and minds of those on earth. A chill cascaded down my spine as the weight of its presence bore down on me. I could hardly breathe, every instinct in me screaming to turn away. The aura that radiated from this being was suffocating, an unshakable feeling that it was gauging my very essence, searching for weaknesses to exploit. As it loomed closer, an overwhelming sense of dread began to hybridize with a shocking clarity. I was unveiled to the depths of its control over lives, a puppet master skillfully dancing in shadows, while the world spun unaware in the light. But this encounter was only the beginning. I felt an urgency churn within me. It was a message disguised in fear. I was about to witness astonishing and disturbing revelations. Just beyond that terrifying presence lay the sinister reality of its manipulators, the dark forces operating in the crevices of our existence, weaving a tapestry of discord and confusion across the globe. I braced myself, knowing that yet more truths awaited on the other side of this chilling moment. I was suddenly catapulted into a series of visions, each one more jarring than the last. There I stood, not in my own body, but as an invisible observer, witnessing the Antichrist's insidious grip on our world. My heart raced as the implications sank in, my chest tightening with every passing vision. It felt like a relentless barrage of imagery, stripping away any remaining sense of comfort I had clung to in life. In one scene, I saw political figures standing before cameras, pledging allegiance to false ideals that disguised their true intentions. It was unsettling to hear their hollow words, so polished and rehearsed, seducing the masses with promises of change they never intended to deliver. As I watched, the realization hit me. These manipulators were sowing seeds of discord, crafting narratives that pitted groups against each other, driving wedges between communities that once stood united. Then I was thrust into another vision, this one revealing industries reaping profits from moral decay. I witnessed advertisements glamorizing vice, portraying it as freedom while obscuring the devastating consequences lurking just out of sight. It felt like a sickening betrayal of the very foundations of our society, a calculated plan to erode the values that uphold us. Each scene I saw pierced through my resolve, leaving me alarmed and disheartened. But the most distressing sight of all was a movement that had co-opted the language of truth, but was leading people in circles, diverting attention away from the very issues that mattered most. This impostor painted itself as a beacon of hope, while slyly guiding its followers into a darkness so subtle they didn't even notice. I felt powerless as the weight of despair began to crush me, threatening to engulf my spirit in this commentary of disillusionment and betrayal. Just as I teetered on the brink of hopelessness, my guide intervened, stepping in front of me with a presence that radiated calm. "Remember," they said softly, "there's always the potential for a balance to be restored. Awareness is the first step. Action follows." Those words cut through the gloom, flickers of hope sparking back to life inside me. I started to comprehend what it meant to fight back against this pervasive darkness. I wasn't merely meant to witness. I was summoned to awaken, to share what I had seen, to challenge the complacency that allowed these manipulators to thrive. The journey became clearer, and with every heartbeat, a purpose began to form. In the very depths of this extraordinary experience, I was suddenly transported to a battlefield, a vivid, spiritual conflict between light and dark. There was an intensity in the air that I could feel with every fiber of my being. I watched as spirits rallied together, their forms illuminated in a glow that seemed to pulse with purpose and determination. They were fighting against an ominous, insidious force that had taken root in realms invisible to the human eye. It felt surreal, but there I was, an observer in a cosmic war that reflected the very struggles we face on Earth. Among the spirits, I recognized some familiar faces, those I lost and awaited to see again. They stood at the forefront as leaders and guides, empowering others and igniting sparks of courage in those who felt lost. Yet, there were also beings I didn't recognize, cloaked in shimmering light and holding truths that pierced through the haze of deceit. I could sense their drive to illuminate what had been obscured by the manipulations of the Antichrist, to expose the lies that fed on fear and confusion. This magnificent assembly exuded hope, but I couldn't shake the weight of trepidation looming over me. This conflict was not merely personal, but a greater awakening for humanity. A plea yearning to break through the walls we have unknowingly constructed. My heart raced at the thought. Would we heed the call? Would we realize that we are being summoned to stand up against the invisible powers that sought to control us? The stakes felt monumental as I glimpsed the deep connections between this battle and the existential crises playing out in our lives. At that moment, as the clash between forces intensified, I grasped something significant, a clear and resounding message that resonated so strongly within me that it felt like it would echo endlessly upon my return to the physical world. It was a call to action, urging us to awaken from our slumber and unite against the darkness. It became evident that I was not simply observing this battle. I was part of it, and so were we all. As I regained consciousness in the hospital, the beeping machines brought me back to a harsh reality. Yet, even amidst the sterile smell of antiseptic and the bustling of nurses outside my door, the visions I had experienced clung to me like a heavy cloak. A profound weight pressed upon my chest. Purpose. It was as if I had returned carrying the burden of sacred knowledge, gifted with insights I was meant to share. I could feel the truth pulsating within me, begging for expression. With every breath I took, I braced myself for the challenges that lay ahead. I thought about the skeptics waiting at every corner, the disbelievers who might look at my experience as mere fantasy or a hallucination. I understood how my revelations could shake others' perspectives, perhaps even their convictions. The fear of ridicule lingered just beneath the surface. But I knew I had to speak out. The urgency to share what I had seen overpowered my hesitation. If not me, then who? The clarity from my journey crystallized into a series of key takeaways. Above all, the critical lesson emerged: the importance of vigilance and unity in the face of the shadows that seek to manipulate our very essence. I realized that we can no longer afford to remain passive witnesses in our own lives. By awakening our spiritual senses, we can recognize the signs of deception, the narrative spun by unseen forces attempting to guide us off course. We must stand together, united in our pursuit of truth, for only then can we counteract the dark influences of the world. If any part of my story resonates with you, I invite you to join me on this journey. Like, subscribe, and share this message with others. Together, let us spark a dialogue that kindles awareness and inspires hope, illuminating the dark corners of our existence. Only those who venture forward will discover how these revelations can serve as a guiding light in their own lives. Will you be among them? I am deeply grateful for the chance to share this chapter of my life with you. Thank you for being part of this exploration. May my experience empower you to look deeper, recognize the signs around you, and defend the essence of your spiritual truths. Your awakening might just be the spark that ignites a greater movement toward clarity and understanding in our world, a world longing for light amidst the shadows.